Hi everyone, this is Piyush Ranjan. I am the founder and chief consultant of Management Masters. We are a boutique admissions consulting firm for the top MBA programs around the world. Today, for this video interview, we have Sonali Borase with us. Sonali recently joined the ISB PGP program, and she worked with us on the ISB PGP. What we like to call this as a headshot, right? Because she worked with us on one particular program and she got through. Without further ado, let's have Sonali. Sonali, thank you for joining us. It's incredible to have you here. Could you just give a brief introduction about yourself to our viewers?
Sure. So I'm based in Mumbai and I've done my schooling and graduation from here. And I did my graduation in commerce and pursued CA along with it. So post CA, I joined L&T Infotech in their financial planning and analysis team. So yeah, I worked there for 3 years and that's when I kind of decided that I wanted to go for an MBA. And yeah, here I am.
Perfect. Sounds super nice. Thanks for mentioning, because you come from the CA background. There are lots of candidates nowadays who come from similar backgrounds who have done their CA, right? Did you ever feel any sort of dearth of finding similar candidates like yourself who came from similar backgrounds and who wanted to go for an MBA in terms of when you're starting on this path?
Right. So actually, I was pretty lucky in that sense, I think, because I knew 2 people from my college who also got into ISB. And since we were from the same college, we're all CAs, I kind of had that, I was able to relate to it and kind of get the kind of experience that they would have had. So at least on that count, I didn't have as many reservations on, whether I could apply.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. So could you give us a brief understanding of what exactly was your job like at L&T Infotech? What were you doing with them?
Right. So, like I mentioned, I was in the FP&A team. So basically, our work is exactly what the name of the team is, which is financial planning, which is to build projections of the company and kind of estimate how, the trajectory is so that if any corrective actions have to be taken, we can kind of go down that route. Then we also do annual budgeting. And then we have other analysis where we track actuals versus estimates, actuals versus budget, analyzing financial and non-financial KPIs to kind of give the management an idea of what where we stand today and kind of where we expect to be at the end of the quarter. Because it being a listed company, we publish our quarterly results, and that's something that's really important to the shareholders as well as other stakeholders. So yeah, that's kind of what we primarily work on.
All right. So how did you sort of get influence towards going for an MBA from preparing those financial plannings and budgets all year round?
So I think so I had two main reasons why I decided to do that. One was to kind of push myself outside my comfort zone, because when I saw people at work who had an MBA and I kind of, compared myself with them, I could see the kind of different insights that they brought, the kind of communication skills basically they got. So it's not like a big thing, but small things kind of make you realize that difference, and which is what I thought I could gain from the MBA experience. Because CA as a course, you don't really go to college, right? I did graduation from college, but that was just like to get the degree. There wasn't much of a college life as such. So yeah, I think that was one, to kind of go back to college and pick up those skills. And that's where you can make mistakes without it having any major consequences, right? You make mistakes, you learn. So that was one part of it. And the other was also to kind of foray into areas apart from finance, to kind of gauge if I was interested in something else and wanted to do that.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And thanks for mentioning that college is a place where you can make mistakes. You can afford to make mistakes without having a huge amount of consequences based on those, right? That's something which is very, very important about MBA programs, right? They allow you that safe space to operate, right? Because you come from a CA background, and I'm sorry for going back onto that, But one thing that we have often noticed is when people come from this background, right? The fact that a lot of people have not gone for a proper college, right? It usually also inhibits them from participating in a lot of extracurricular activities as such, right? So could you tell us a bit about your extracurricular involvements and what did you do and how did you sort of manage those areas of your profile?
Right. So I was fortunate enough to go to college and do my graduation because I think in Mumbai it's pretty common to do graduation along with CA. So that not doing graduation was never an option, or it wasn't something that I thought people could do. I came to know about it after I completed CA. So and another thing was in college, so I knew I was this kind of shy person and didn't really talk much or, you know, yeah. So that was something I wanted to change. And so I decided that despite the fact that I'm doing CA and it's a pretty demanding course, I wanted to do stuff in college. So I kind of made sure that I participated in at least one activity each year. So there were like 5 years of college that I did, including my 11th, 12th. And there were four committees I was a part of each year. So yeah, so first I started out small. I started out with the road track club of the college in the editorials department. So I didn't really have any, a role where I had to address a crowd or talk to people. So I just thought I'd start slow. And after that, I got into the Students' Council of the college. And then in my last year, I was the HOD for alumni relations at the Entrepreneurship Development Cell. So that's how I kind of planned it out because it was something I really wanted to do and wanted to get over the inhibition of talking to a crowd or talking to people.
Oh, that makes so much sense. Coming back to the MBA application part, right? Because when you decide that you want to go for an MBA, especially from an international MBA perspective, or it's MBA programs which require a lot of experience. The first step is always that test score, getting the GMAT or the GRE, right? So could you tell us a bit about how did you prepare for the test? Which test did you take, and if there are any advice or suggestions that you have for future candidates that you think that would help them?
Sure, yeah. So I gave the GMAT. I gave it in April 2021. So that's the year I kind of applied for ISB. And I started preparing for it pretty long ago, actually, like maybe in Jan 2020 or something of that sort. But I kept pushing it and it kept like getting delayed because of work. Things got busy. I stopped taking it seriously, things like that. So I think I took it up really seriously somewhere in December 2020 and just thought that, I want to get done with it. Jo score aayega, aayega. Let's see what happens. So I gave myself like 3 months, and what I think really helped me gain confidence to just go and give the exam was to give a lot of mocks. Because till that point, I didn't kind of have that confidence on whether I'd be able to answer questions. And plus, the questions are in any sequence, right? It's not like topic wise or anything. So you just kind of, your brain gets trained to think like that. No matter what comes, you kind of switch between topics. So that is something that I think if I had to recommend, I'd really tell people to just give a lot of mocks, even though you don't feel 100% prepared. Just start somewhere. You can keep improving as you go. And the other thing is preferably, especially if you're not confident on your scoring abilities, would be to start early so that you give yourself that kind of comfort that even if things don't work out, you have the time to redo it or, just kind of study more and reapply. So, yeah.
Yeah. Makes a lot of sense. With respect to the GMAT itself, like could you sort of identify or share the kind of resources which really helped you out for the GMAT prep?
Right. So the official guide was my Bible. I didn't really do much beyond that. I just really focused on that. Then The website MBA.com has like 6 practice tests, of which I think 2 are free and you have to
Yeah.
pay for the other 4. So I did like those 6 seriously. And then I also tried doing other mocks like from wherever I could find online. And yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Now, I remember when you reached out to us, you were very sure of just applying to ISB, right? You only wanted to apply to ISB as your school. So, could you help us understand like what led to that decision, and how did you decide that ISB is going to be the only school that you would want to apply to?
Right. So starting with abroad versus India, I kind of decided on India because of the uncertainty surrounding COVID. And I kind of had not um, thought about how it would impact financially if I decided to go abroad. So I just thought that, staying in India for now seemed like the best option for me. And then within India, ISB is, I think, one of the top schools. If you
Yeah.
except IIMs are obviously at par. But then I wasn't very keen on the CAT process as such because I'd already been through a super competitive exam like CA, and I didn't want to kind of put myself under that kind of pressure again, where 0.01 percentile also can like create
Yeah.
this huge havoc. So yeah.
All right. And while you were researching about ISB, could you tell us a bit about how did you research about it, and what did you like about ISB in general?
So the main thing that I really liked was that everyone came with some experience, and I think
Mhm.
that creates a lot of difference in terms of the perspective that you have and the kind of conversations you're able to have with people when they come with some experience, which was also, a factor for me while comparing ISB versus IIM, because IIMs have, I think, more of freshly graduated
Yeah.
sort of folks.
Yeah.
And because I fall in I had like 3 years of work ex, so I couldn't apply for the max
Yeah.
programs of IIM. So yeah, diversity was one big factor for me at ISB. The other factor was also that it's a 1 year program. So I could, I didn't have to invest as much time. Plus, their website is really cool. I think I spent a lot of time going through their website and the kind of student clubs, student initiatives that they have.
Yeah.
All of that looked really interesting and something that I wanted to be a part of.
Did you also get the chance to reach out to people from ISB, from students or alumni from the school?
So I didn't do a lot of that. I just reached out to this one friend who I mentioned earlier was in my college, and just kind of spoke to her about what her experience was, and she was really so she really encouraged me to kind of go for it, and that just gave me that extra push to kind of, or that extra bit of confidence that I was on the right path and that I could do it, and I just had to
Yeah.
focus. So yeah.
All right. It makes a lot of sense. Now, coming to working on the actual application itself, because the entire application process is a huge process, right? So you have to look at everything from your essays to the entire data form, then to the recommendations and everything else, right? So, how did you manage the entire process, and what was like any tips from your side for aspiring candidates?
Right. So, like I mentioned for GMAT again here, just give yourself enough time. I know some people can do it within like 2 weeks also, but if you're not the kind of person, and I was not, who can do that, then just give yourself enough time to do it stress-free. And so because I like started early and I was pretty clear that I wanted to target only ISB, I had the time to kind of do multiple iterations of the essays and think
Yeah.
about what I really wanted to write, which is I think one of the key things that is required for your essay, to just
Yeah.
kind of know what are the things you want to bring out specifically and what are the things you can leave out or just have a passing mention or something of that sort. So that I think clarity is what is most important, at least for the essays. Then the resume is another part, I think, of the application, which is more like just something that you've done over the past 3 years. You kind of concise it, which I didn't think was as tough as the essays. The essays were the part that I found more challenging because you have that word limit and what do you keep in, what do you leave out, how do you express the same thing in a small, more concise sort of a manner was, yeah.
So, when you reached out to us for the ISB application, right? What led you to choose to work with us in terms of the consulting process or anything else that you like about? Essentially, why did you decide to work with us on the ISB application?
Right. So I heard about you through LinkedIn. Like I don't know from where you kind of showed up on my LinkedIn feed, but yeah, and I would like follow your posts and it just seemed like the okay, so like the vibe just seemed right. I felt like, I could talk to you about it, and it was something, it's kind of like that feeling you get that, you can work with this person. So something of that sort. It's not too arrogant, but still confident. I don't know, that kind of.
That's
Yeah,
nice to
so
hear.
that was one, and which obviously that got reinforced when we had that first profile evaluation call,
Yeah, yeah.
where yeah, it was more to kind of just know that you're the right fit and you can
Mhm.
kind of work on the application. And that call was mostly important to me to also kind of figure out whether there is enough in my application that I can, kind of put forth and apply. So
Mhm.
that was what was helpful. And also that I don't know, I don't know how to what to call it, but it's that vibe where you just know that it's
I
ho
think
jayega, that feeling.
I would just take it as we vibed very well, right? So that is good to hear. Always, it makes me feel younger a bit. But talking about the process itself, right? So, what would you say if you could give some feedback about the process, something that you liked about the process that we had, or if there are any things that you would want us to further improve upon in the process itself that you could share?
Right. So, what I really liked about the process was the confidence that you give to the person to be yourself, right? The confidence and also the freedom to just be you. Like, for example, in my essays or my application, I felt like the language was too simple and it didn't look very flowery, very eloquent, and things like that. It was
Yeah.
just like very straightforward, very simple, no big words, all simple stuff. So that was so after I finished writing them and I was pretty happy with the essays, this was something that kept uh I kept thinking in the back of my mind, कि, it should probably look a little more fancy. कि इससे तो
Yeah.
नहीं होगा. And that's when, I was told that it's fine if that's the kind of personality you have and your essays reflect something else. That's when, so the adcom will think that there's something amiss, right? Because in the interview, you're going to give a very as you are, simple, straightforward kind of vibe, whereas your essays are going to be super fancy. So that's where it creates that mismatch. So why give anyone that, or why let anyone think that there might be something amiss? If you are that kind of a person, just be that way. As long as you put forth the kind of, or the kind of qualities that you want to bring out in your essays, you're good to go. So that was something that, I really liked about the process, and it reinforces, Alums keep telling you, be honest
Yeah.
in your interviews, in your essays. And so that was something that was done really well. And in terms of improvements, I don't think there's anything great to call out as such. I was like pretty happy with the whole process and I wouldn't change a thing about it. So yeah.
Thank you so much. That's very kind of you. Now that you've already started with the ISB program itself, you're already in the digital phase of the program, and then a few weeks in, you're going to go to the actual campus and start with the ISB life, right? The year that is going to change your life. What is the one thing that you're really looking forward to at ISB?
So, like they mention on the ISB website, and a lot of alums say it's going to be a year of transformation. So, that is something that I'm really looking forward to. And, to kind of just imagine myself at the end of 1 year and know that I really went through that time, which was probably super hectic, tough at times. But what the change that was brought about in that process is something that I'm really keen to kind of see, and which I know will happen through kind of, putting yourself out there, pushing yourself outside your comfort zone. So currently, I'm in the mindset where I just want to do everything I possibly can and gain as many experiences to hopefully make that happen.
That's very nice to hear. I'm pretty sure ISB is among one of the best schools in the world, not just in India. So I'm pretty sure that that's something which is definitely going to happen as we go ahead. Let's move into the last section of the interview that we have, which we call the rapid fire round. Right? No prizes for guessing what it is about, but we'll just ask you a few questions and we just want very, very quick answers, whatever comes to your mind first. Right. So let's start with the first question. What is the biggest myth about MBA programs or MBA applications that you realized through the entire process yourself?
That you don't have to be great at everything.
Okay.
So you could, like for me, I think one of the thing was not having a rank in CA. Right? I thought that only people who had a rank in CA could apply to ISB and get into it, which is not the case. Like even if you don't have a rank, but you have, it's the entire application as a whole, right? And which I think the same thing applies for GMAT also, that you don't need this 750 plus or that kind of a score to be really sure that you will get in. As long as you can balance out your profile and just show that you are a good candidate who can do well after you pass out of the school as well. That's something that, is
All right.
a myth.
Sounds pretty good. What was your favorite part of the application process for ISB?
The essays, I'd say they were like the most difficult, but also my favorite. Like now they're my favorite part. At that point, I was struggling with the with the essays, but now I'm really happy with how they turned out, and I didn't think I could come up with something like that. So I kind of like pleasantly surprised myself with a lot of help, of course.
Okay. What was the worst part of the entire process that you absolutely don't enjoy or didn't enjoy?
Worst part was I think the amount of tension or nervousness I went through before the interviews, because I really thought that it's gonna be, I don't know what they're gonna ask, whether I'm gonna be able to answer them, blah blah. But the actual interview turned out to be really nice. The panel was very warm, and they were all simple questions that just relate to you, right? There's nothing that you wouldn't know, basically. So, yeah.
All right. What is the one event or club or society at ISB that you're really looking forward to join?
So currently, it's Bandhan. So it's a part of their, I think the Net Impact Club kind of organizes it where they have activities for underprivileged children. And so, yeah, I'm looking forward to that because I love kids. And I think that will be something, that's going to be really nice interacting with them and just kind of helping them out through whatever they may have. And also, in a way, to kind of give back because we come from families where we've pretty much got everything we needed. And yeah, I think it's kind of our responsibility to pull others up and help them get what they need.
Correct. Sounds pretty nice. And one final question: what would be your one tip for future aspirants for ISB or any other top MBA programs?
that would be to not have doubts. If you want something, just go for it. Things work out, things may not work out, but then you find another way to deal with it. So don't doubt yourself so much that you don't take a step towards what you really want to do.
Thank you so much, Sonali, for the interview. I really wish you the best for everything that you've done and for what is going to come forward in your next part of the journey.